And then we have the color palette incentive. Purple is up by what seems like $50.01, but if you look a little closer, purple might only be up by 1 cent. Then, of course, we have the Zelda file names as well as the Zelda sprite. That Zelda race, Z1 races, those are so cool to watch. You can both name the file. It's very close. I mean, we have Cajun up at $25, but then at $20, we have Bob plus Bob plus, Exo Bob, and Bobble. So if you like one of the Bobs, if you watch the Chrono Trigger run and were really enjoying the Bobs, you can get the Bob's return. Or you could throw your own thing in there. I mean, maybe donate $30, enter for that lovely gaming headset, and you know, name the main character Jimmy. Jimmy the hero of time. I mean, I would watch the adventures of Jimmy the hero of time. In addition, we can actually change what sprite the protagonist is. So normally in Legend of Zelda, you would of course play as our protagonist Link, but right now our runners are going to be playing as the wise old man. But that's only got a $5 lead. So you can also make them play as Zelda, Marin, Impa, and of course Link. Or if you really want to see that wise old man save Hyrule, you might need to throw a few more dollars towards it because that is a small gap and can be taken over at any minute. Then after that, we have the Kaizo Mario World speedrun, where if we want to read all messages, which, like, let's be real, we want to make life harder. We want to make life just that much harder for our Kaizo runner. I mean, Kaizo's a pretty easy thing to do. I mean, like, no one ever, everyone's always like, "Oh, Kaizo's simple." So I think we should make our runner's life a bit harder there. Following that, we have the Final Fantasy VII PC run, and that is also going to be an amazing time. We have a ton of naming bid wars for that as well. We have of course our protagonist Cloud, who currently has the name Vincent, winning by $20. So, like the name Vincent, dislike the name Vincent, either you might want to throw some money either to ensure that, because this will be, I can tell you, this bid war will take off, and if you want to be an influencer in these names, now is the time to throw your hat into the ring, because if you wait until right before, there's going to be like four or five names on this. I'm telling you now, and like people will be pushing for the names that have already been established and going for a couple hours. So you're going to want to get a few dollars on the board for your protagonist now, so people will back you up on that one. Then we have Barrett Ultros is winning for Barrett by only $1. Then we have nothing for Tifa, Red 13, or Sid yet. And then if we want to finish off this marathon with a Omnislash to Sephiroth, because yes, we do want to do that. That is a $300 donation goal, and we are almost there. Only $43 left to get Omnislash to Sephiroth. It'll be so cool to watch. So please donate for these incentives. There's some really cool ones there, and I think we're just about ready to watch some Mario and Rabbids.
We absolutely are. Let's throw it right over. So give me just a second to swap over my audio, and we will be all set. So, hi there again. I'm still CorundumCore, and this is going to be Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle, Donkey Kong Adventure Any %. And now my setup is cooperating. Awesome. And so this is the DLC to the game that surprised everyone at E3 2017. Nobody thought it was an actual game when it was leaked, and then as more information came out, people were more and more surprised, and as more gameplay footage, they were more and more intrigued, and it ended up being, in my opinion, one of the best games on the Switch in 2017. So this is the Donkey Kong Adventure DLC, and we are going to get right into it in 3, 2, 1. So, what is Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle? It is a tactical shooter a la XCOM with Mario and Rabbids painted all over it. This is the Donkey Kong Adventure DLC. The length of the any percent run for the DLC is about 30% the length of the run for the main game. Only an hour and a half as opposed to 5.5 hours. It is a more streamlined speedrun. Rather than having to choose between 8 playable characters in a party of 3, you just have a set 3 characters to play as. There's only 19 chapters rather than 38, and there are more damage and movement options. And we open with this nice 2-minute cutscene. Story check-in. You're supposed to have completed the first world in the main game by this point. So you've met the main antagonist of this area, who is Rabbid Kong. And Bowser Jr. has taken Spawny to overload the washing machine slash time machine slash teleportation machine, and as you just saw, Rabbid Peach was trying to plug her phone in and got sucked up into another dimension with the washing machine. So we're going to skip this cutscene right after this loading zone. Have to quit to the main menu to do it. And we're going to be placed right into the first battle. Is it less confusing knowing the lore? Not really. The main issue is that the lore of the Rabbids in this game, from my understanding, requires a bit of a knowledge of the Rabbids TV show, but I'm not entirely sure on that.
Sorry, there's a Rabbids TV show?
So we're going to take Donkey Kong and Rabbid Cranky. Rabbid Cranky is going to dash right here, team jump off of Donkey Kong and land back where he is. And now Donkey Kong is going to ground pound, and that is going to be the first fight. Sorry there, my audio cut out for you there, Hex.
Oh, I was just astounded that there was a Rabbids TV show is all.
Oh yeah. Quitting to the main menu again. And now we're going to have the first opportunity to buy weapons and skills. So weapons are unlocked at the beginning of each world, and then skill, you gain a new skill point after every battle. We're not going to need to grab any skills for this battle because we can do everything with just the base attacks and everything. But we are going to buy our first weapon. And if I had my Australian friend, St. Kildafan, who is the second place holder for this game, or for this category, first place holder for the main game, he would give the item description because it is a banana boomerang, and it has a very Australian description. So we are coming up on our first collector battle. Collectors are a new form of enemy to the DLC. And I'll talk about them after we skip this cutscene. So basically, as I said, the story of the DLC is that the washing machine that got the Rabbids to show up in the Mushroom Kingdom has been sent to this Donkey Kong area now and is broken. The collectors have picked up the broken pieces to the washing machine, and we're trying to get them back. So we have to defeat these enemies and then pick up the parts that they drop. The problem with the collectors is that they have an unlimited movement range. So as you'll be able to see on Rabbid Peach right now, there's a blue outline showing me how far I can move. Collectors don't have that. They can just move wherever they want, and they can do that on their turn, and also whenever they take damage from a weapon. So we're going to need to make sure that we are dealing damage to them in ways that don't use weapons. So for example, we're going to dash them and then use the Grump Jump attack again right here. And then we need to put them to sleep. And that is going to prevent them from moving during the next turn. And now we give the enemies a turn. Yes, it is slightly unfortunate that the Rabbids have kind of outshined Rayman in recent years. Because I do prefer Rayman. That being said, the humor of the Rabbids in this game in particular, I'm not necessarily sure about the TV show or previous games, but the sense of humor that the Rabbids add to the Mario universe, or in this case, the Donkey Kong universe, is just excellent. So now once this enemy starts moving, Donkey Kong has an ability called Hairy Eye, which is basically like an Overwatch ability in XCOM where you can attack when an enemy moves. That's going to finish off that enemy, and we're able to grab these two pieces. And I need to remember not to split after every chapter, because we don't want to be stopping the timer. Alright. Gonna grab an upgraded ground pound for Donkey Kong here, and this is gonna be the first time that we're actually going to collect skills. Being able to do this menuing fast is super important to getting a good time in this game. I actually have notes over to the right of me right here to kind of help me out with all of the things just in case I forget, because there's a lot to memorize. It would just be too difficult if you didn't have a reference sheet. So this is another defeat all the enemies battle. This fight can change a lot based off of the RNG. Grabbing the extra health like we do at the beginning of all these fights doesn't change the route. It's just easier to go ahead and grab the extra health while we're button mashing through all of this text. We're going to take Rabbid Peach over here. Use Rabbid Peach's sentry on this enemy up here. It's called a Ziggy. The reasons behind the names of these enemies is slightly tied into the main game, so I won't go into it. Just know that their names make sense to me. So Rabbid Cranky here is going to dash this Smasher and then jump back to where he was. You're going to see me doing this double Grump Jump combo basically everywhere in the run. Now Donkey Kong is going to pull out the DK bongos, which is just such an incredible groove that it's going to bring the enemies over. And then he's going to ground pound him. And we're hoping to not get a crit here, which we don't. Preferred, because that means that these two enemies are going to both try and deal damage to Donkey Kong. And it should finish them off. It does. Awesome. Hoping to get a crit here. We don't get it, so we're going to need to finish him off with a dash. And that's the battle. So now we're going to quit to the atoll to skip this cutscene. It's basically faster than quitting to the main menu, but we didn't have access to it until now. And this next fight is going to be the first Bad Banana battle. And rather than trying to defeat a certain number of enemies, we're having to destroy objectives on the map, namely these piles of bad bananas. We're only going to need to use Donkey Kong and Rabbid Cranky here. It's going to be the same pattern every turn. Damage RNG can make this fight fast or slow. Speaking of RNG, the entire thing that makes this run possible, or makes running this game possible, is that we can manipulate where enemies are going to move on their turn based off of where we end our turn. So all of enemy movement is manipulatable in that regard. However, we don't have the ability to manipulate our damage rolls or our crit chances. And so that is what affects the run. You have to change your route depending on when you crit, when you don't crit, and when the enemy crits and when the enemy doesn't crit. So the pattern for this fight is have DK throw Rabbid Cranky, throw his banana, Rabbid Cranky uses his shotgun, and then does a second grump jump, and then we swap back to DK, pass the turn to the enemies, rinse and repeat. If we get good damage rolls, we can actually finish it before, or we can finish off the Bad Banana pile before Rabbid Cranky needs to do the second Grump Jump, but that's just a damage roll. And that's the fourth battle. So this is going to be the only reach area battle in the run, so rather than trying to defeat a certain number of enemies, we just have to get one of our party members to a yellow square at the end of the run, or at the end of the level. And it is really, really fun, mainly because in this game, movement range is criminally underrated by players, and putting points into movement allows you to do so much, particularly in this one reach area. So every single battle has a par that the game expects you to complete the battle in that number of turns, or at most that number of turns. The par for this battle is 7. You'll see just how quickly we finish this battle. Snap 2 is being a little bit messy right now. We'll talk about what the Snap 2 function is after this. So yeah, we finished this battle in one turn. But the Snap 2 function, so when you are moving the cursor around the map, it's obviously on a grid system, and you can't necessarily line up directly on that grid system with the cursor, so the game tries to kind of snap you to the tile that it thinks you're trying to interact with, whether that's moving to it or dashing an enemy on it or whatever. The problem is that the Snap 2 is very terrible, and whenever you're trying to interact with something, you very frequently end up moving right next to it. So there is the possibility of us having to restart some of these battles just because the Snap 2 function is being unreasonable. So we've got to do this totem pole puzzle. And now we are coming up on the first boss. I don't think I changed my skills. I did not. So I'm glad I checked, or else we wouldn't be able to do this next battle. So this is the first boss. His name's Side-Eye. He's kind of a scaredy cat. Whenever he takes weapon damage, he's gonna run away, just like collectors. So our goal is to deal as much damage to him as possible without it being weapon damage. And unfortunately we didn't get a crit there, so that means that we are going to be at the mercy of a damage roll later on in this battle. If we had gotten a crit there, the fight would be guaranteed to end on Rabbid Cranky's shotgun. Instead, we may now need to use Rabbid Peach to finish off Side-Eye. Hey, there we go. We got a crit there. And that is World 1, so now we move on to World 2. But first, we're gonna go ahead and grab some new weapons. And we're also gonna grab some skills. Then we're going to take this DK barrel. And quit to the atoll as soon as this loading screen starts, or is over. And I've got to say, I am very surprised that this run has not been interrupted by a cat yet. This one or the previous run, because normally whenever I start streaming, that is when my cat Charlie decides to run over and start meowing incessantly. And I guess she has decided to take a cat nap. Stream times are always cat times. Oh man, Charlie, you're famous. You sure you don't want to meet all the wonderful people? So this is a defeat a number battle rather than defeating all of the enemies. We have to defeat a certain number of enemies, and not all of the enemies will spawn on the first turn. So instead, we'll have to wait for more enemies to spawn in order to complete the battle. Normally it takes enemies like 2 turns to spawn. They have 1 turn where they show up as kind of like ears in the ground, so you know where they're going to spawn, and then a second turn is when they actually pop up. But DK has an ability called Ear Uprooter that allows him to cause enemies to spawn a turn early by quite literally pulling them out of the ground by their ears. This fight, getting a good time on this fight is pretty RNG dependent, and we have not had good RNG. In fact, we've had pretty much the worst RNG you can have in this fight, so this fight's going to be a little long. This is a 50-50, and we actually got it, surprisingly. Alright, so not the worst RNG, just bad RNG. And so this next fight is the first smuggler battle. And as soon as we grab some weapons, I'll talk about that. Okay, I just realized that something weird happened there that I'm glad I didn't notice earlier, because I would have been really upset about it. Apparently, the game decided to just not equip one of the weapons that I previously bought, which is probably why the fights went a little wonky. Because it just didn't equip DK's ground pound. So that's nice. But smuggler battles, they're basically reach area battles in reverse, where we are trying to stop enemies from reaching their own reach area. These enemies in particular. They are trying to deliver more bad bananas to Mega Rabbid Kong. And we don't want that. Ooh, we got 2 crits there. That's actually pretty good. I'm pretty sure that means we don't need a crit here. I think we might still need a crit here. Nope, we do not. But we got it anyways. That's awesome. I guess this is the game's way of apologizing for giving me the terrible RNG in the previous battle. Slight optimization there. The tile that we have Rabbid Peach on is very deliberate because it means that she gets hit by the Grump Jump in addition to the enemy that we're trying to hit with the Grump Jump, with Rabbid Cranky. The reason why we want that is because Grump Jump applies the freeze effect, which means that you can't do any abilities, or any of your special abilities. Which means that we don't have to worry about accidentally activating her special ability because she can't use it. And then she's not at danger of dying later in the battle, so it's just a small little time save. You don't have to skip to give the enemy their next turn because there's nothing else that you can do. Alright, we are hoping for a crit here. We do get it. This fight is, I think, technically the fastest it could have been. That's kind of cool. I should mention that I am the world record holder for this category, so it is very unlikely that we're going to get a PB here today. But it may happen. This is going to be the second collector battle, and it can get really, really wonky if we get bad RNG. So we don't want that. Also, I am seriously having to refrain from singing along with this excellent music. If you couldn't tell, this music is composed by Grant Kirkhope, the greatest Western video game music composer of all time. And if you don't agree with me, that's fine. You're entitled to your wrong opinion. But it is just... it is so easy to just hum along to this. So we're going to dash this enemy right here, and then put him to sleep, which is also, we are just barely in range to put this enemy to sleep as well, which is important because we don't want him moving. Now DK is going to use his banana here. He's going to hit all three of those enemies and finish off two of them. Finally, he's going to use Hairy Eye. And we are hoping for a crit here on the Hairy Eye. And unfortunately, we do not get it. And it was also a pretty low damage roll, so that's unfortunate. So you might have noticed a thing where it popped up saying golden shot. So a golden shot is either a crit or a max damage non-crit. And if you finish off an enemy with one of those, then it's a golden shot. So we're picking up this bounce block and throwing it right here to bounce that collector in a certain direction so that he lands right there and is in our line of sight so that we can hit him. And then we just need to pick up that last collector piece and then we'll be good to go. That fight went okay. And now we are on to the boss of World 2. This fight can go a little crazy depending on RNG, not too bad though. But first we have a puzzle that I love to gush about. Any musician is going to appreciate this next puzzle. Is anybody in chat a musician? Anybody play any instruments or are vocalists? Oh, nice. Lots of musicians. That's great. So this is a reef organ. This is supposed to be a Simon Says thing, but we discovered that you don't actually need to play the part where it shows you the correct sequence. instead you can just memorize it and play it. But the reason why I like to nerd out about that is because that organ plays on a pentatonic scale, and so the solution is the first part, the second part, and then the first and second parts together shifted one tone up on the pentatonic scale. And it's actually the, like, opening music that you heard right there to the boss fight. Power Glove is considered an instrument? NES Power Glove? I mean, I guess. Oh. When you write your own software to do it. Oh yeah, that would do it. I myself come from a very musical family. My dad and my grandfather both play trumpet. My mom plays the recorder and the accordion, because of course she does. And all three of us have been in various choirs throughout our lifetime. Myself, just high school choir, but both my parents have been in church choirs for all of the churches they've attended. And I suppose I used to play piano, but that was a long time ago. So we're about to be finishing off Finn in just a second here. And that's World 2. And so World 2 is definitely the most RNG section of the game. So it's really nice that after we have just finished World 2, we go right into the first fight of World 3, which is 100% consistent and not affected by RNG at all. As long as I do everything right, the fight will always look the same every single time. I'm a little upset with myself that I didn't submit an incentive to play through all of the cutscenes, because they really are hilarious, and you should definitely buy this game if you have a Switch, and buy the DLC, because just for the cutscenes alone, they're all hilarious. The sense of humor is fantastic in this game. So I'm a little upset that I didn't submit an incentive for watching all the cutscenes. That being said, we are doing pretty well on time, so I may watch one of the cutscenes known as the butt wiggle cutscene and just donate $50 and pretend like it was an incentive that I met myself. I may do that. That's up to y'all. Alright, remind me when we get to the boss of this level, or the boss of this world, to not skip the cutscene. So like I said, this fight is 100% consistent. As long as I do everything correct, it will never go wrong. There is not any RNG that will trip us up. So the entire setup of this fight leads to right here. So the tiles that Rabbid Cranky and Donkey Kong are on are super, super important because this summoner is going to spawn a hopper enemy. It's going to jump to standing right next to Rabbid Cranky, and he's going to try and shoot Rabbid Cranky because DK isn't within his line of sight, but Cranky is also behind cover, and so there's a 0% chance of us getting hit. Which means that neither Donkey Kong nor Rabbid Cranky have the chance to be bounced by that enemy if that enemy crits. And so there's nothing RNG related that can affect the outcome of that fight. Isn't this music great? It's so good. Brett Kirkhope knows what he's doing. So this is the third and final collector battle coming up. It's a pretty cool looking fight. I like it. This is one of the fights that has probably changed the most from when we first started doing the run. Because we started running this game, or running this DLC pretty much as soon as it came out. Because people were so happy with it, because the main game is a 5.5-hour speed run, which is just not manageable for a lot of people. But the fact that this is only an hour and a half is much more manageable. And I'd say that this fight has changed the most over the course of the history of the DLC. go. There's a very specific tile that Cranky needs to be on to make this fight work. So I needed to make sure that he was on it. I was pretty sure, but you always have to double check. Alright, we are hoping for Rabbit Peach to not get crit here. And she didn't, so that's good. Now DK just needs to grab this, 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 and this. Excuse me. And Rabbit Peach needs to go through this pipe, go down here, and that is the final collector battle done. So now we're coming up on the second smuggler fight, and also the final smuggler fight. All of the runners of this game have a slightly different route for this fight, and it doesn't really matter because they're all around 2 minutes. Oh yeah, definitely click the link, either the Google or the Hararo link, to see the rest of the schedule. There is not much more for the rest of the marathon because this is the final day, but there are some pretty awesome runs that are coming up after this.
And a bunch of those remaining runs have incentives left, so I would take a look at those too.
Absolutely. How close are we on that hard mode incentive for Jax Bros?
They're only $25 off. So that could be easily closed with one more donation, and probably will be. Speaking of donations, we have gotten one from Profness for $5, putting towards having the Smash Bros. Fighter tag beat Jeff. And I choose to believe this is Jeff from Earthbound. So like, if Jeff isn't your favorite character from the Mother series, or I guess you could pick a character not from the Mother series or your own name or something. You can show people who the real best character is. It's Paula.
So are you going to donate money to show everybody that Paula is the best character?
Yeah, I'll donate some money. I
Gotta put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, I'll put my money where my mouth is. Paula's the best Earthbound character, so.
I say I'm partial to Boney.
That is also an option. Also, we are not limited to Mother series characters.
But we could be.
I also lied and just donated for Kumatora. There's more than one game in that franchise, as I remember.
Things are heating up in the incentives, which is a good thing. More money for charity. I'm just gonna make sure this enemy dies by getting closer. So this is probably the coolest looking fight in the run. This is the Bad Banana Bonanza. And basically, we're going to have the enemies do a lot of the work for us in this fight. It is the second and final Bad Banana battle. In case you couldn't figure that out from the name. So Rabbid Cranky is going to jump up here. Going to be hoping for a crit here. We do get it. We're going to put these enemies to sleep because they can really mess us up if they are not asleep. Then we're going to take DK, pick up Rabbid Peach, move to the corner right here, throw Rabbid Peach all the way to the end of the throw range. Then we're going to do a ground pound and hope it crits. It does. Crit isn't required, but it saves the tiniest bit of time. Rabbid Peach is going to move all the way up here. Sentry this pile. Hopefully you get a crit. We do not, that's okay. So here's the first example of the enemies doing the work for us. That enemy is going to just finish off that Bad Banana pile for us. Now, even with a crit, I can't finish off this Bad Banana pile, so I'm going to move closer, take a shot right here. Then Donkey Kong is going to pick up this enemy, go back over here, toss this enemy onto the Bad Banana pile. Throw a banana. And then we're going to activate Hairy Eye. And then Cranky's going to move all the way up here. Take his grenade. Shoot it at that final Bad Banana pile. And we get a crit, which is awesome. So that enemy moving closer to us causes us to throw the banana because of the Hairy Eye. And then it bounces back into the Bad Banana pile. That smasher finishes off that Bad Banana pile. And then we're unfortunately going to need to finish the last one off ourselves. But that's pretty quick. And that's the fight. And now we are coming up on the World 3 boss. But first we have a puzzle that has a somewhat... no, I'm not going to say it. Basically, this puzzle used to soft lock a lot. It hasn't soft locked in a while for anybody who's run this game, but I am the kind of person who says never say never, because the second I say that it never soft locks, it'll soft lock during a world record pace run. And before soft lock, yeah, we should be able to fix it. But if not, I have a backup save. So the point of this puzzle is that you're trying to get water to flow to those golden blocks, which they basically form a bridge, while at the same time not routing any water into the vines. And if you complete that successfully, the drawbridge goes down. So the two ways that it could soft lock, which there's no chance of it soft locking now because we've completed the puzzle, but the two ways that it used to soft lock is that either the drawbridge wouldn't go down because it wouldn't recognize that the puzzle was completed, or the puzzle would complete in the completion of the last battle. And it wouldn't allow us to raise the golden blocks. So we wouldn't be able to walk across the drawbridge. And this is the cutscene we're not skipping because I like it. And that's why it's the butt wiggle cutscene. So this fight actually has a pretty interesting strat. It's basically called the kamikaze strat. So you'd think that you're supposed to be damaging Mega Rabbid Kong for this fight, but actually what you're doing is you're trying to deplete all of the health from the pool of water right there. It just so happens that whenever you damage Mega Rabbid Kong, some health is siphoned off from the pool of water to keep Mega Rabbid Kong at the 1000 health. So any chance that you have to deal damage to both the pool of water and Mega Rabbid Kong effectively doubles your damage output. So these TNT barrels are supposed to deal 500 damage, but because we can hit both Mega Rabbid Kong and the pool with them, they deal 1000 damage. Isn't Rabbid Peach just so wonderful? I honestly have a hard time, like, deciding who is my favorite character from this series, just because they're all so good. I think my favorite is Rabbid Mario, and I do have like a little figurine of Rabbid Mario that came with the collector's edition of this game, but Rabbid Peach is also amazing. And so is Rabbid Luigi, and Rabbid Yoshi, and Rabbid Cranky. Never mind, I can't decide. So unfortunately, this is the only time that we're not going to get a perfect battle, because we did lose Rabbid Cranky there, but that is pretty common. Either Rabbid Cranky or Rabbid Peach gets knocked out during this battle. Oh, almost forgot the route there. Oh yeah, the vampire ability that Rabbid Luigi has is definitely, like, one of my favorites gameplay-wise, but talking specifically about just, like, overall character design, Rabbid Peach is up there. But my personal team playing through the base game was Mario, Rabbid Luigi, and Rabbid Mario. But for that was during my casual playthrough, but for the speedrun, the best team composition is usually Mario, Rabbid Peach, and Luigi. So now we are in World 4. I also love the designs of the weapons. I love the design of everything in this game. This is such a good game. Rabbid Peach has some of the most character, and Rabbid Mario has some too, though Peach whipping out the shotgun to help out was like the most... Wait, what? Okay, let's do this then. Yeah, I don't know, honestly the most wait what, let's do this then moment for me in the game was the opening cutscene where they describe how Mario and the Rabbids, like, end up in the Mushroom Kingdom. That was the most outlandish thing to me in the entire game. But yeah, seeing Peach break out the shotgun in order to fight a giant ice monster was a pretty awesome moment. Gonna do a quick safety thing right here. Okay, so we didn't need to do it. But this should finish off one of the enemies here. Yep. there's a very slight chance that we don't deal enough damage here, but we did. We got the crit. I think the minimum damage roll is a 98, and we need to do 100 damage there. So this is the second defeat a number battle. The fight can get a little weird on turns 3 and 4, but I think we'll be all right.
Do we have time for a quick donation?
Absolutely.
Well, we have just gotten a $68.36 donation, which puts us above the $8,000 mark from the Lemon Fairy.
Woo! Thank you so much, Lemon Fairy.
So yeah, we are above $8,000. We are getting so close to our overall donation goal. I think that if we keep at it, we can do it. Let's get that FF7 Omni Slash and put whatever's left into Jack Bros hard mode. Right on, Valkyries. I think there'll actually be a little left after both of those are filled. So if you would like to message me or say in chat, or something, what you want the rest of. Let me actually double check my math there, but if there is actually extra to go to other things, let me know in chat where you want the remainder to go.
I just want to take a second to say that it is fantastic that we have been able to raise so much money over the past week for such an amazing cause. Like, the Take This organization just does such incredible work, and I am so humbled to be able to do some runs during this marathon to support such a great cause. And everybody who has supported this marathon, either monetarily or by sharing it or anything like that, you should be proud of yourselves too.
My math was actually wrong. We need another $4.50 to complete Jack Bros hard mode. But we're really close.
Oh no. So remember how I said the snap to function can be a little bit difficult and it'll frequently put you next to something when you want to interact with that something? That just happened right here. So we're gonna need to do a little bit of finagling in order to fix this. Alright. Thanks for the good luck, Jay. So... that didn't do any damage because that enemy had a shield on them, but it did put us in range for a smash right there. Rabid Peach should have the ability to sentry this enemy over the next turn. Move over to here for the next enemy spawn. And then DK will be able to finish these two off.
Got time for one more quick donation?
Sure thing.
We just got $5 from He Was Pale, SMT Hype, Jack Bros Hard Mode. So, thank you, He Is Pale. That actually completes the hard mode incentive, meaning we will be seeing hard mode for that game. That actually leaves you with, technically, you have 50 cents left. So, if you would like to put that towards maybe that bid war, you would actually be able to tip the balance of it in either direction, because it's a complete tie right now.
Which bid war is that?
Jax versus Pixie for Jack Bros.
Ah, got you.
There, you can also put it to any other incentive, of course.
So that fight went a little bit wonky because the Snap 2 decided to mess with us, but that's okay. We made it work. So this is one of the most annoying RNG sections in the run right here. This is the second to last battle. And we basically have to get a crit on DK's ground pound, or else we have to deal with burn crits. So burn is one of the special effects that can happen, and it'll basically cause you, any allies or enemies you and any allies or enemies that you touch to run around in a random pattern for a random amount of time. And so it completely throws off all of the setups that we do throughout the run. Ooh, runner's choice for Pixie versus Jax. Or Pixie versus Jack. Hex, what's the more difficult route?
They're about the same, in terms of difficulty. Pixie's a little faster.
Okay,
by like a minute.
We'll do Pixie. Because we like going fast. Alright, so fingers crossed for a crit here. If we don't get it, we are at the mercy of a burn crit. Yes! Okay, awesome. Not getting a burn crit there adds like an extra minute minimum to the to this battle, so I'm very, very happy that we get it. It's a 70% chance that we get it, so we're more likely to get it than not. But my past couple of runs, I haven't been able to get it, and the second place holder for this category, St. Kildafan, I don't think he's gotten it in any of his past 12 attempts. So that's what? A 70% chance over 12 attempts not being successful once? That is some really, really bad odds. But now we don't have to worry about that at all. So we still get hit by the burn crit, we just don't have to worry about also potentially having the enemies get hit by the burn crit. we are coming up on the final boss battle. Just have one more quick skill swap to do, and then we'll be into it. So here is the reprise of the Mega Rabbid Kong fight since he ran from the last one. Also notice the banana floating on the cloud in the background. So this fight has 3 phases. We want to be finishing phase 1 during turn 2. We want to be finishing phase 2 during turn 4. And we will either finish the battle during turn 5 or halfway between turns 5 and 6. And you'll see what I mean by that if that happens. Oh, that is actually what we want. Alright. So we got the crit there, which is pretty essential. Like, basically, these buckler enemies have the ability to keep us in place with the honey crit. And if Rabbid Peach gets hit with the honey crit from this buckler, the fight goes a little south. So the fact that we got the ink crit, which means that that enemy cannot attack next turn, that means that Rabbid Peach has no chance of getting honey crit. And so the rest of this fight will basically play out. I don't want to say perfect, because there are always things that could potentially go wrong, but we should be fine. But after getting a bad snap 2 in 4-2, I am definitely going to take a little bit of extra time just to make sure everything goes smoothly. Here in the final boss fight, because I do not want to get a misclick anywhere. Alright, so finishing phase 1 on turn 2, as expected. So unfortunately we can't fast forward through animations that happen during our turn, or else this fight would be a solid 2 minutes faster just because there's so many animations that go on during our turn. But we have to sit through them at full speed, unfortunately. So we need to stand on these low-rent Duel of the Fates. It is kind of that a little bit, isn't it? So we want to be stepping on these pressure plates in a specific order. It's not required for a casual playthrough, but you want Mega Rabbid Kong to move the way that he does in this order. basically because we want Rabbid Peach on the corner that she got thrown to. If Rabbid Peach had gone onto that pressure plate first, then Mega Rabbid Kong would have pushed her straight back rather than diagonally. And turn 4, we have finished phase 2. So now we just need to reach the DK barrel. I'm glad the run is almost over. My hands are actually really cramping up right now. Now's a good time to remind people to do hand stretches while you're speedrunning, because I forgot to do any before this run, and I'm feeling it. So Mega Rabbid Kong is actually going to be a gentleman and push us into the final area, and that is time. So that is a 1:22:29. It's actually a little bit sooner because I split late.
GG.
Thank you very much. I actually think that is faster than the second place time. I think the second place time is a 1:22:32. So I'm really happy with that time. And that is with us watching a cutscene. So that is actually a really good time.
What's your PB?
My PB is 1:18:49, which is world record.
Okay, that's a big difference between those two times. Okay.
Yeah. But I got I got
was
incredible RNG on that run, so I was not expecting to get that here.
I was wondering, like, if we hadn't watched the cutscenes, would have this been world record? But
No.
Still a fantastic run, though.
Yeah. Alright, so thank you so much for allowing me to run Fia and Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle for Speedrun Ragnarok. I will be signing off and handing it over to the next restreamer and runner, which I think it is Dragolina with Super Smash Bros. Brawl.
Yep,
next.
you are correct.
Alright. Awesome. So, again, thank you so much, everybody, for having me. I will see you all in chat.
Thanks so much for running with us.